unless you live in a cave, you know we are drowning in debt. So what are we going to do? Do you have any ideas? Republican Congressman Paul Ryan says he knows what to do. Congressman Ryan is the ranking member of the House Budget Committee, and he sits on President Obama's new debt commission. Earlier, Congressman Ryan went on the record. Congressman, nice to see you, sir.
Hey, how are you doing, Greta?
I'm very well. All right, this National Commission on Fiscal Responsibility, of which you're a member, I want to jump ahead to December 1st. If 14 out of 18 members agree on whatever project or whatever your final report is, what's going to happen to that report? What's the point of it?
Well, the idea of the report is to put our fiscal house back in order and put us on a better trajectory. If you heard my comments yesterday at the opening session, spending's the problem, not taxing. We don't have a tax problem, we got a spending problem. We need to focus on spending. And my hope is that we come up with real spending controls to get our entitlements under control and get spending in order. The president's budget is unsustainable. But
it's not a binding, it's a recommendation, right? So whatever report you come in, it just sort of says, you know, here's a good idea, let's try this one, is essentially, right?
Yeah. Here's a good idea, let's try this one. And then there's an agreement by Majority Leader Harry Reid to bring it up in the Senate. And then if that passes, there's an agreement by Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker here, to bring it up for a vote in the House. So there's an agreement that they'll vote on these recommendations if the Commission kicks out some recommendations. And like you say, it needs 14 out of 18 votes to make a recommendation go forward to then be considered.
Okay. Our current debt is about 12.8, 13 trillion, about that, give or take a few billion or whatever. And you say that you're in favor of cutting spending. It seems to me that there are three ways to arrive at resolving this. You cut spending, you raise taxes, or you really rev up the economy so we have a lot of money pouring in over the transom to the federal government. Those are the three, or some combination of those three. Is that a fair sort of?
That's fair arithmetic. That's right.
Now, how are you going to convince everybody in this panel to your viewpoint that it should be cutting spending and not raising taxes? Because some of the members might have a vastly different idea how to do this.
I don't know that I'm going to at the end of the day, Greta. It's a commission that's not purely bipartisan in that it's stacked with far more Democrats than Republicans. Those of us who are the elected Republicans on it want to emphasize spending. If you go to my website, AmericanRoadmap.org, you'll see that I put all sorts of spending cut plans out there that actually pay off our debt. So I'm going to be advocating those kinds of ideas. Look, the way I look at it is the people who sent me here from Wisconsin didn't send me here to raise taxes. They sent me here to get spending under control so that they don't have their taxes raised. That's kind of how I see my job. I'm not going to get into table talk as to what's on the table, what's off the table. But the problem in Washington is a spending problem, not a revenue problem. Those are the ideas we're going to bring to this table, and I hope we can get something out of it, but I'm just not sure.
In terms of this 14, you need 14 out of the 18. Let's say that you don't get 14, you only get 12 in agreement. Then what happens? That's it?
Nothing.
Nothing. That's it.
That's it.
And so you've at least tried, but you've accomplished, but you haven't achieved your goals.
What I'm hoping is we get some public education out of this. I'm hoping that the course of this year we will at least bring more education to the public as to just the magnitude of this problem, just how out of control our fiscal trajectory is, and that I think will help educate the public as to what reforms are needed, what trade-offs are involved, and to help educate Congress. Now, I obviously don't think you should even try to tax your way out of this problem. Mathematically, you literally can't tax your way out of this problem. If you try, you'll kill the economy. That's why I emphasize going after spending.
All right, you raised the issue of taxes, and I've got a statement here from you that dated April 23rd, a written statement from your office, and you say that the CBO has released an analysis as of April 22nd that estimates large tax increases will hit millions of Americans making well below $200,000. And you go on to say that according to an analysis by the House Ways and Means Committee, that the President has already signed into law 14 separate violations of his tax pledge. So it doesn't sound like you're being particularly successful in not raising taxes and cutting spending. So it looks like an uphill battle, at least from what you've published.
Yeah. We don't control Congress. I'm in the minority, as you well know. I'm the ranking member of the Budget Committee, not the chairman. And that means Congress has already passed $670 billion in new tax increases this session and $1.8 trillion in new spending increases just this session. So they've already done a lot of this already, and I just think we should go in a different direction, and I'm going to be advocating that.
All right. Well, now, one of the other prongs that a way we can sort of get out of our mess is if money comes in over the transom, if our economy really starts roaring.
That's right.
Is there any indication from the February 09 stimulus bill, the $787 billion bill, that the economy is going to get revved up so that maybe we can forestall some of the tax increases or even the budget cuts?
Not the kind of revved up that you mean. Yes, the economy is growing here, and I think the second half of 2010 you'll see pretty good economic growth, 3-4%. We should have 6 or 8% considering the kind of recession we just had. But most economists think we're going to slow back down in 2011 because of all these tax increases that are hitting, because of the Federal Reserve slamming on the brakes, sopping up the money supply, increasing interest rates. And so a lot of economists think 2010 is going to be okay, but 2011 is going to soften back up. And so we don't see the kind of growth we're going to need to get out of this situation. Again, that's why I say spending. Problem is, lots of tax increases are coming. More are being proposed. That's bad for the economy. That will hurt its chances of growing and creating jobs. All the more reason to get spending down, because that's, in my opinion, the only sustainable way to get our budget balanced and pay off our debt.
Is the commission, and I don't mean to be disrespectful to the members who serve on it, sort of giving political cover to Washington? Because in theory, every committee, the budget committee in the House has Republicans on it, has Democrats on it, and you can discuss these very issues that this commission is going to discuss, and you can make recommendations. But instead, you've created this sort of, and I don't, maybe the word fiction is a little bit crude, but does it, why do you have to have this special commission? Why don't you use your existing structure? You can call witnesses, you can call business leaders, you can call economists, you can call people who work for the president. Why this outside commission?
That's what I've been advocating. I actually have a bill that pays off our national debt and balances the budget. I brought a budget to the floor last year, obviously didn't pass, that does that, reduces taxes and cuts spending. So I obviously think we should do this in Congress. That's not obviously where this current Congress is going. And so what happened with the creation of this commission is the president sent Congress a budget that is unsustainable and not credible. And those aren't my words. Those are the words of the budget director and the Treasury Secretary. And then with that budget, they said, we're going to have all these tough decisions be made by this commission to report after the election. And so what I think it effectively does is it gives politicians up here the ability to defer tough choices, to not talk about spending control, and in order to deflect the kinds of criticisms about fiscal mismanagement, just say we've got this commission out there. Now, having said that, since I'm on the commission, I want to see it succeed. If there's anything that can help us get a grip on spending around here, I want to see it succeed, and that's what I'm hoping this thing does.
All right. There is currently no budget. Is that correct? That we have the president's recommendation, but right now we're operating on no budget. How in the world can you possibly figure out how much spending needs to be cut or taxes raised or how, even sort of the demands of our federal government if we simply have no budget? I mean, most families get, when you look at your household, you figure out what your budget is. You are now trying to cure the deficit, but you have no idea what our budget even is because we have none.
Well, like I said, Congress just did $670 billion in tax increases, $1.8 trillion in new spending, and after all of that, this new health care law, as you mentioned, Greta, there is no budget. It doesn't look like they're going to do a budget. So you really need to budget for these things. Obviously, that's not taking place right now. I think it's sort of governing 101. Unfortunately, Congress has failed to do this in the past. What they will do if they can't pass a budget, the Democrats, is they will deem a number for the Appropriations Committee to fund government agencies and then call it a year. And I think that's probably the path they're on right now. And
deeming a number, with all due respect, is like pulling a number out of the hat, I think. And not to be disrespectful, but anyway, and aside from my sort of flip remarks about it, I do hope that the Commission is successful in reducing our deficit. Congressman, thank you, sir.
You bet.